Shalom. This week we are beginning a new book of the Torah, the fourth book, the book of Numbers, Sefer Bamidbar, after receiving all of the instructions of the divine service for the Mishkan, the tabernacle, later to become the Holy Temple. Now we come back to the timeline, to real time. Children of Israel in the desert, they are traveling encamped around the tabernacle, ready to enter into the land of Israel soon. And the book of Numbers, also known as the book of counting, begins with the census of tribes of Israel. And we read here in the beginning of chapter 2 how we receive instructions for the children of Israel to encamp around the tabernacle. Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, "The children of Israel shall encamp, each man by his banner, according to the insignias of their father's household. At a distance surrounding the tent of meeting shall they encamp." So we have here the concept of four formations. Judah's encampment is to the east. Reuben's encampment is to the north. Ephraim's encampment is to the west, and the encampment of the tribe of Dan to the north. And this is such an amazing picture of the tribes of Israel surrounding the tabernacle like the heart of the nation. But this idea of these banners, according to the insignia of their father's household. This must be the first mention in the Torah of a flag. And it's such a compelling idea, the history of the flags of the children of Israel and how their function and their purpose in the desert encampment seems to be so important. Were the positions of the encampment of the tribes of Israel simply identified by their specific flags and their insignia, the ensign according to the father's house? Or was there a deeper reason why the children of Israel were known by their particular flags? Of course, a flag is a piece of fabric. Of course, I'm quoting from Wikipedia because I wouldn't know what a flag is if I wouldn't look there. Most often rectangular, with a distinctive design that is used as a symbol, as a signaling device, or as a decoration. So, bear with me for a moment as we investigate, according to conventional wisdom, what is the history of the concept of a flag? Because the first time that we are really encountering it in Torah, I believe, is now. Children of Israel in the desert. Now, according to the inquiry of the history of flags, this is what we're going to turn up. We're going to turn up these words. The first flags were used to assist military coordination on battlefields, and flags have since evolved into a general tool for rudimentary signaling and identification, especially in environments where communication is similarly challenging, such as the maritime environment where semaphore is used. There's a concept of national flags, which are potent patriotic symbols with varied, wide-ranging interpretations, often including strong military associations due to their original and ongoing military uses. Flags are also used in messaging, advertising, or for other decorative purposes. And the study of flags is known as vexillology, from the Latin word vexillum, meaning flag or banner. You're satisfied? You wanted Wikipedia? Here we go. Now, in antiquity, field signs or standards were used in warfare that can be categorized as vexilloid or flag-like. Examples including the Sassanid battle standard, Dervish Kaviani, and the standards of the Roman legions, such as the Eagle of Augustus Caesar's 10th Legion or the Dragon standard of the whatever. So, the point is, during the High Middle Ages, flags came to be used primarily as a heraldic device in battle, allowing more easily to identify a knight than only from the heraldic device painted on the shield. Already during the High Medieval period, and increasingly during the late Middle Ages, cities, states, and communes such as those of the old Swiss Confederacy also began to use flags as field signs. Then we go to the peak of, I'm condensing, the peak of the age of sail, beginning during the early 17th century, as it has been customary and later a legal requirement for ships to carry flags designating their nationality. Now, these flags evolved into national flags, maritime flags. Flags also became the preferred means of communication at sea. You know what? There are national flags, civil flags, war flags, international flags, religious flags, linguistic flags. Flags are used in sports, diplomatic flags, swimming flags, railway flags, and we haven't even begun to speak about flag poles. But is this really the history of flags, or is there something much deeper? It would seem to us, from the most perfunctory study, that actually none of what we just read is accurate, and none of the conventional understanding, as we would find if we would simply do a search for the history of flags, something is missing, because we are not beginning with biblical times in our study. And certainly from the book of Numbers we see the important central role that the insignias of their father's household, each man by his banner, according to those insignias, we see the central role that this played. And actually, according to Jewish tradition, this is all very, very deep. And it goes much further back than the history recorded here. And it all starts with a verse in the Song of Songs, chapter 2 and verse 4, where we read, "He brought me to his chamber of wine, and his banner above me was love." That's the literal translation, but the verse actually refers to, on the mystical level, the verse refers to the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. When Hashem brought us El Beit Hayayin, he brought us to the wine feast. The wine chamber is really referring to the delights of Torah, and his banner above me was love. So our sages derive in special tradition from this verse that at the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, Israel witnessed how all of the myriad groupings of angels descended upon Mount Sinai to honor God and to honor Israel and to honor the Torah at that event. And all of these groups of angels were, as it were, encamped according to their particular banners and their particular ensigns. It was some sort of incredible vision that Israel perceived of the angelic beings descending on Mount Sinai in specific groups according to their flags. And the Midrash tells us, in a very enigmatic and powerful statement, that from that moment, Israel desired, on the deepest level, to also be identified by flags. Now, according to this midrashic device, according to this lesson, actually, we're being told that the earliest history of flags comes from the Sinai revelation, and that on some mystical level, when Israel received Torah from the Almighty at the Sinai revelation, which we are soon going to be observing, commemorating on the festival of Shavuot in just a couple of weeks, Israel perceived this tremendous glory and majesty of the angelic beings represented by flags, and from that moment on, there entered into their hearts a deep desire also to identify through flags. And the verse in the Song of Songs, chapter 2 and verse 4, was God's answer to the children of Israel, that yes, they also would receive this tremendous gift of the banners and the ensigns, and this was first manifest and first given over as a legacy for them here in the beginning of the book of Numbers, as they encamped for the first time as a nation around the tabernacle. And the concept of the flags of the children of Israel is quite complex. Actually, each flag featured a very specific and unique color, which became the very same color as the particular stone on the breastplate of the high priest, the choshen of the Kohen Gadol also features 12 stones, one corresponding to each tribe of Israel, and the color of the stone is the exact background color of the banner of each one of the tribes. The ensign, the design on the flag, is another very deep subject, and apparently, according to our sages, there is a tradition that when we read back in Genesis, in chapter 50, verses 12 and 13, of how the children of Jacob carried him, and they were all encamped around him as they carried him, apparently the same order in which they carried their father Jacob is the order in which the same descendants of the original sons of Jacob surrounded the tabernacle years later. According to another idea, actually it was when Jacob was on his deathbed and his sons were gathered all around him. The very same positions around which they stood, those are the positions around which they stood when they were gathered about the tabernacle, etc. But the insignia and the color of each tribe is extremely significant. So I think we see very clearly that the earliest recorded history of flags is not really the same recorded history that we are aware of, that our tradition of the development of this manner, this means, this method of identification and grouping comes from a much earlier source. It comes from the Sinai revelation, and thus intrinsically, it's already imperative for us to understand that there must be something much deeper here, because if it comes from Sinai, then it is obviously something that is rooted in eternity. There is a great lesson here and a great secret here. But what does it mean that the children of Israel perceived on a spiritual level a vision, that they saw numerous, countless, myriad groupings of angels descend upon Mount Sinai according to their flags? I mean, obviously there is a deep lesson here, because the Midrash is never just quaint or anecdotal or simple or just some sort of tale. So what does it mean that they perceive this? And even more, what does it mean that from the moment the children of Israel perceived this vision, they had an overwhelming, compelling desire that they too should have the merit, the blessing to receive flags and to be able to march with them and identify themselves through these flags. So there is indeed a very great secret here. What is the purpose of a flag altogether? Actually, as Rashi cites, one of the main reasons for a camp to have a flag is that all those that are scattered will know where to gather. And all those that are spread out will have a rallying point to be able to focus upon, and even more so, he points out, in a time of war, when they become separated, they will not lose their bearings or focus. They will not go lost, because they will always be able to return to their camp through the flag. And so it is, our sages teach, on a level of spirituality. And this is really the deep meaning of that verse in the Song of Songs, where we are told in chapter 2, V'diglo alai ahava, that his banner above me is love. And degel, a flag, is actually an expression of the concept of chibur, to be connected. In other words, what is it that the children of Israel saw? They saw angels, which means a concept of a spiritual entity that has no distraction. An angel has no distraction like we do. This is exactly what our sages teach us, whatever it means, and whatever an angel is. What we're told that we can learn from the angels is that they are completely focused. They have no physical boundary or counterpart or element that would drag them down. They have no contradiction as we people do, where our divinely given soul is pulling us all the time in one direction to rise up, and our more physical base nature is pulling us down. Not so with the angels. They are totally focused and always connected, even when they are given a particular mission and they have to become part of the physical world. They are still completely, constantly attached to God consciousness. And it's this that the children of Israel saw and desired on a deep heart level. It's such a beautiful teaching when we're told, oh, the children of Israel saw the angels with their flags and they wanted it too. They desired it too. What we're being told is that that attribute that they saw, that the angels are able to be in this world on a mission for the Almighty, but yet to be completely focused and never to be distracted, always to know where to return to, always to be able to rally around that base camp. That's what they wanted as well. In receiving the Torah, they want to be able to go into the world with some sort of anchor, to know that they also can remain completely connected and not become separated. And this is really what it was that they saw and that they wanted, just as the angels are never really separated, and they're always completely clinging in their consciousness to God. This is what the children of Israel desired as well. So this history of flags, through the connection to the children of Israel, coming all the way from the giving of Sinai, makes a lot more sense to us than what we find in Wikipedia as far as the development, evolvement, evolution, as you were, of flags in the world, because the Song of Songs is telling us that God unfurled a banner above us at Mount Sinai, and that banner was emblazoned with His love. And here, in our Torah portion this week, we are told, very first thing that the children of Israel can be identified with by in their desert sojourn, as we begin now their trek through the desert, is their banner, the ensign, according to their fathers, just as it was in the time of the patriarch Jacob going out from Egypt. That positioning, getting ready to remain focused with our divinely ordained tasks. And the reason that this is all so tremendously moving and significant now is because we are reading this Torah portion, beginning the trek in the desert, and we are, as a nation now, divided according to our fathers' homes around the tabernacle, and unfurled above each of our respective tribes is our flag according to our Father's house. And it's not a small thing, it's not coincidental that this Torah portion falls out in the month of Iyar. And it's not for naught, it's not coincidental or without meaning that the month of Iyar in the land of Israel is more marked by the presence of the flag of the state of Israel than any other time. It's the month of Iyar in which we observe the modern-day biblical holiday, as it were, of Yom HaAtzmaut, the Day of Independence. And in this very month, soon, next week, Jerusalem Day, which will mark the day of the reunion, the liberation, the unification of the holy city of Jerusalem. These festivals always fall out in the month of Iyar, so saturated in the month of Iyar, all around us, is the flag of the state of Israel. As we read now of the flags of the children of Israel in the desert, which were inspired by the angelic flags at the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, whose purpose, we learn, was to show that just as the angels in this world, whatever this means again, somehow we're able to understand from this that they stay focused and on target all the time, never distracted. And so too, the children of Israel desired to be instilled with that attribute, that they should also be always as one man with one heart around the tabernacle, around the presence of God, rallying to their flag. And so how apropos that, as the verse in the Song of Songs teaches us, His flag above me is love. Is there a greater manifestation of God's love for the children of Israel in these waning end days. In our time, in the month of Iyar, coming from the other aspect, the earlier aspect of the month of Iyar, which is Holocaust Memorial Day, and the day of remembering the fallen soldiers, that his flag above me is love, literally taking us home during this month of Iyar. And now, as we read the first Parashat Bamidbar of the book of Bamidbar, Numbers, in the desert, literally waiting as one nation with one heart, centered around the tabernacle, rallying to our flags, about to permanently enter into the land of Israel. Literally, his flag above me is love. Here in the land of Israel, this month of Iyar, the flag of the state of Israel is our interpretation that God gave us in these days of the flag of the angels. Something for us to return to rally around, to stay focused on, not to be distracted, but to remember our divine calling. Literally, he brought me to his chamber of wine. He gave me the delights of the Torah. His flag above me is love. We are encamped now, metaphorically, as we read the book of Numbers in the desert, and the flags fluttering above us now here in the land in the month of Iyar are the device, the herald, the ensign that we have received from the angels to stay focused as we travel and to remember his love and not to be distracted, but indeed to take the Torah, to be centered around our heart, the tabernacle, to enter into the land, to rebuild the Holy Temple.